Jack Miller stared out the viewport as the transport ship glided toward the massive space station. The Nexus Academy's main structure resembled a giant crystal flower blooming in the darkness of space, its transparent petals housing different academic departments. Orbiting a neutral star at the crossroads of 7 major galactic trade routes, the Academy was the pride of the Galactic Federation and home to the brightest minds from over 300 worlds. Jack's stomach tightened. He was the first human ever admitted to the Academy. 6 months ago, Earth had made first contact with the Federation, and this exchange program was supposed to help integrate humanity into the wider galactic community. The Federation representatives had seemed excited about including a unique perspective from a Class 12 Deathworld, whatever that meant. "Prepare for docking, Human Miller," announced the ship's AI in a soothing voice. "Please secure all belongings and remember that Nexus Station gravity is calibrated to galactic standard, approximately 0.7 of your Earth gravity." Jack grabbed his duffel bag and took a deep breath. Just like the briefing said, "I can do this," he whispered to himself. He had been chosen from thousands of applicants, a regular kid from Ohio who happened to excel in both sciences and cross-cultural communication. The airlock hissed open, revealing a reception area teeming with the most diverse gathering of beings Jack had ever seen. Some floated in bubbles of liquid, others shuffled on multiple legs, and a few seemed to be made mostly of light. A tall, willowy alien with pale blue skin and 4 arms approached him. "Welcome to Nexus Academy, Jack Miller of Earth. I am Orientation Guide Alara. Please follow me to your assigned quarters before the welcome ceremony." Her voice had an odd musical quality, like wind chimes. As they walked through the main concourse, Jack noticed many aliens stopping to stare at him. Some even backed away. "Is something wrong?" Jack asked Alara. She hesitated. Many students have never encountered a Deathworlder before. Earth's classification as a Class 12 world makes you somewhat unusual. What exactly does Deathworld mean? Jack had heard the term during his briefing but never got a clear explanation. It refers to planets with extreme environmental conditions that most sentient species would find immediately lethal, Alara explained. High gravity, intense radiation, toxic atmosphere, dangerous predators, unpredictable weather, tectonic instability. Earth has all these factors, yet your species not only survived but developed spaceflight. It's quite remarkable. Jack frowned. "Earth doesn't seem that bad to me." "That is precisely what makes you interesting," Alara said with a gesture that might have been a smile. After settling into his quarters, which had thankfully been adjusted to Earth normal temperature and humidity, Jack attended the welcome ceremony in the grand auditorium. The dean, a being that resembled a giant jellyfish floating in a hovering tank, gave a speech about knowledge transcending biological differences, but Jack noticed several students giving him nervous glances throughout. The next morning, Jack found his class schedule on his assigned datapad. His first class was Comparative Xenobiology with Professor Zix Nebula. The classroom was a tiered amphitheater with adaptive seating for various body types. Jack found a human-compatible seat near the back, hoping to avoid attention. A shimmering cloud of purple gas coalesced at the front of the room, forming the vague shape of a humanoid with sparkling stars visible within. "Welcome, students, to another cycle of learning," the gas being announced. "I am Professor Zix Nebula. Today we begin with an overview of planetary classification and the evolutionary pressures that shape sentient life." The professor activated a holographic display showing various planets. Most Federation species evolved on Class 3 to Class 5 worlds, environments with stable conditions, moderate gravity, and limited environmental hazards. Jack watched with interest as the professor displayed various alien homeworlds and explained how their inhabitants had evolved to suit their environments. Theoretical models suggest that worlds beyond Class 10 would be too extreme to produce advanced life forms, Professor Zix Nebula continued. The energy required merely to survive would presumably prevent the development of higher intelligence or technological civilization. Jack frowned and raised his hand before he could stop himself. The professor's gaseous form swirled in apparent surprise. "Yes, the Earth student? You have a question?" Jack stood up, suddenly aware that every alien eye, sensory stalk, and visual receptor in the room was focused on him. I'm sorry, Professor, but that's not correct. Earth is classified as a Class 12 world, and we've developed spaceflight, advanced medicine, and complex art forms. The classroom erupted in murmurs and clicks and electronic buzzes as students communicated their surprise. The professor's form condensed slightly. Indeed, Earth is an anomaly we are still studying. Perhaps you would share what conditions on your world are like to help illustrate the point. Jack nodded. Well, our gravity is higher than here for starters. Our weather can change rapidly. We have storms that can flatten buildings, temperatures that range from way below freezing to hot enough to cook food. We have predators in our oceans that can swallow smaller species whole. Our land has active volcanoes and earthquakes that reshape entire regions. The room had gone completely silent. And you live in these conditions? Asked a small insect-like student near the front. We adapt, Jack said with a shrug. We build stronger buildings after storms. We develop better warning systems for natural disasters. We learn to predict dangerous weather. It's just normal for us. Do all humans possess enhanced physical capabilities due to the high gravity? Asked another student, this one floating in a bubble of greenish liquid. I'm actually pretty average, Jack said. I played some sports in school, but nothing special. The professor's form rippled. Would you mind demonstrating your physical capabilities? Perhaps a simple strength test? Jack hesitated, then nodded. The professor directed him to a measuring device at the front of the classroom. Jack squeezed the handle as instructed. A series of shocked gasps filled the room as the numbers appeared on the display. That's impossible, whispered a student. The professor's form swirled rapidly. It appears the standard models need revision. Your baseline strength exceeds the average for even militarized species. Jack felt uncomfortable with everyone staring at him. It's probably just the difference in gravity. I feel lighter here. The rest of the class was a blur of questions about Earth, its seasons, its wildlife, its oceans, its people. Jack tried to answer as best he could, but found himself defending Earth with unexpected passion. No, humans weren't bloodthirsty monsters. No, Earth wasn't constantly ravaged by disasters. Yes, humans had overcome many challenges, but wasn't that true of all intelligent species? When class finally ended, Jack gathered his things quickly, hoping to escape the curious stares. Before he could leave, a message appeared on his datapad. Jack Miller of Earth, please report to Dean Vorex's office immediately. Jack's heart sank. His first day, and he was already in trouble. He'd corrected a professor, drawn attention to himself, and probably violated some unspoken alien protocol. As he made his way to the administration sector, Jack couldn't help wondering if the exchange program was already over before it had really begun. Jack walked through the gleaming hallways of the academy toward the dean's office. Other students moved aside as he passed, their many eyes, sensory organs, and appendages tracking his movements with obvious caution. The dean's office was at the top of the central spire. When Jack entered, he found Dean Vorex floating in a tank of pale blue liquid. The dean resembled a giant jellyfish with multiple brain-like organs visible through his translucent body. "Student Miller, please sit," said the dean, his words translated through a device attached to his tank. "I understand you caused quite a stir in Professor Zick's Nebula's class today." Jack sat nervously in the offered chair. "I'm sorry if I was disrespectful, Dean Vorex. I just wanted to correct what seemed like wrong information about my planet." To Jack's surprise, ripples of what appeared to be laughter moved through the dean's body. "You are not in trouble, young human. Quite the opposite. The Academy exists to expand knowledge, and your perspective is precisely why we initiated this exchange program." Jack relaxed slightly. "So I'm not being sent home?" "No. But I would like to offer you additional guidance. Many species here have never encountered a Deathworlder before. Your casual stories about Earth's conditions were quite alarming to some students." "I didn't mean to scare anyone," Jack said. "Earth just seems normal to me." "And that is precisely what makes you fascinating," the dean replied. I'm assigning you a student guide who might help bridge the cultural gap. Ah, here she is now. The door opened and a small alien entered. She appeared mostly humanoid, but was covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors as she moved. Delicate fins extended from her arms, and a slight glow emanated from patterns on her skin. This is Lyriel, from the oceanic world of Aquarius. Fow, said the dean. Lyriel bowed slightly. Greetings, Earth student. I volunteered to assist your transition. Lyriel is one of our top xenobiology students and has a particular interest in extreme environments, explained the dean. She can help you navigate academy customs while you help her understand more about Earth. After leaving the dean's office, Lyriel led Jack to the academy's central garden, a massive biodome containing plants from dozens of worlds. They sat near a fountain where small floating creatures that looked like living soap bubbles danced in the spray. Why did you volunteer to be my guide? Jack asked. Everyone else seems afraid of me. Lyriel's scales shifted to a deeper blue. My people evolved in the deepest parts of our oceans where pressure would crush most species. I understand what it means to be considered different. Her scales rippled. Also, I am fascinated by your oceans. Is it true Earth's oceans contain massive predators with multiple rows of teeth? Jack smiled. You mean sharks? Yeah, some species are pretty big, but they rarely attack humans. Remarkable. Lyriel's scales flashed with excitement. On most worlds, apex predators were hunted to extinction as sentient species developed. Yet humans let these dangerous creatures continue to exist? We've actually passed laws to protect them, Jack explained. Many are endangered because of past hunting. Lyriel looked utterly baffled. Your species protects things that could kill you? Earth's ecosystem is complicated. Everything plays a role. Over the next 2 weeks, Jack settled into academy life with Lyriel's help. The gravity still felt wrong, and the food in the dining hall was bland to his human taste buds, but he was adjusting. Some students had begun to approach him with curious questions about Earth, though many still kept their distance. Physical education class proved particularly challenging. The standard exercises were designed for a range of alien physiologies, but assumed a certain baseline of strength and endurance that varied wildly from what humans were used to. Today we will practice standard lifting techniques, announced Coach Grek, a stocky four-armed alien with leathery skin. Choose equipment appropriate for your species classification. Jack examined the various weights and machines. Nothing was labeled for human or Earth, so he selected what looked like a reasonable barbell and added modest weights. When his turn came, Jack lifted the barbell easily, too easily. He looked confused. The gravity, Lyriel whispered, from nearby. Remember, it's lower than your world. Jack nodded and added more weights, then lifted again. The barbell still felt far too light. Coach Grek noticed his confusion and stomped over. Problem, Earth student? I'm not sure what weight level I should use, Jack admitted. Coach Grek consulted his data pad. We have no baseline for Earth physiology. Try this lifting station instead. He directed Jack to a machine designed for a four-armed species. This is for Brontarchs, who evolved on a high-gravity mining world. Start with the lowest setting. Jack positioned himself at the machine and pressed the handles. Again, it felt too easy. Under Coach Grek's increasingly surprised direction, Jack kept increasing the weight until he was lifting at levels designated for industrial labor species. The entire class had stopped to watch. Jack felt his face grow hot with embarrassment as whispers spread through the gym. Is the Deathworlder showing off? No wonder they survived such conditions. I heard humans fought predators with their bare hands. Later in the dining hall, Jack sat with Lyriel as she helped him identify which foods were safe for human consumption. Everyone's treating me like I'm some kind of super soldier, Jack complained. I was just average back on Earth. Your average is exceptional here, Lyriel said, her scales shifting to a thoughtful purple. But that's not why students are talking about you today. What do you mean? You've been challenged, Lyriel said, pointing across the hall. Jack followed her, gazed to a table where a tall, elegant alien with silver skin and elongated features sat surrounded by admirers. Who's that? Varan Cole, heir to the Cole scientific dynasty and captain of the Academy's championship debate team. He's issued a formal challenge for you to participate in the upcoming Inter-Academy Symposium on Evolutionary Adaptation. A debate? Jack frowned. I didn't come here to debate. It's more than that, Lyriel explained, her voice lowering. The symposium is a prestigious event attended by Federation officials and corporate representatives. The theme is survival against all odds, and Varan clearly expects you to embarrass yourself. Why would he care about me? Lyriel's scales darkened. Because the classification of new species affects trade agreements and planetary protection laws. Earth's pending Federation membership status could be influenced by perceptions formed at events like this. Jack watched as Varan Cole noticed his attention and raised a glass in mocking salute. So if I refuse the challenge, Jack began. It would be seen as acknowledging human inferiority, Lyriel said. And if you accept but perform poorly, it could reinforce stereotypes about Deathworlders being physically strong but intellectually limited. Jack's jaw tightened. When is this symposium? 3 weeks from now. Participants must submit research materials 1 week prior. Jack nodded slowly. Then I better start preparing. If they want stories from a Deathworld, I'll give them. Stories they'll never forget. Jack spent every free moment in the Academy archives during the next week. The enormous library contained knowledge from thousands of worlds, stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. He focused his research on how different species had evolved to overcome their environmental challenges. Your search patterns are unusual, commented the archive's AI assistant, its voice coming from a small floating orb that followed Jack through the stacks. Most students research multiple species. You are collecting data on extreme survival cases from all species. I'm trying to understand something bigger, Jack explained. It's not just about how my species survived Earth. It's about how life always finds a way, even in the harshest conditions. Jack also sent messages back to Earth, requesting specific information about Earth's most extraordinary survivors. Creatures like tardigrades that could survive the vacuum of space, plants that thrived in desert conditions, and bacteria that lived in volcanic vents. Late one night, when most students were in their sleep cycles, Jack was alone in a deep section of the archives. He had been reading for hours about a species that had survived their sun-going nova by retreating underground. His eyes felt heavy, and he didn't notice when the temperature sensors in the room detected his body heat as anomalous. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the section. Glowing barriers dropped down, sealing Jack inside the archive pod. Warning. Unauthorized thermal signature detected. Containment protocol engaged, announced a mechanical voice different from the assistant AI. Jack jumped up. Hey, it's just me, Jack Miller from Earth. I have permission to be here. Unknown biological signature exceeds thermal safety parameters. Security has been notified. Jack groaned. His normal human body temperature of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit was apparently triggering some ancient security system. He looked around frantically, trying to find a way to override the alarm. The security console was designed for beings with different appendages than human hands. Jack studied it quickly, remembering what Lyriel had taught him about standard Federation interfaces. He pressed what he hoped were the right sequences of symbols. Instead of shutting off the alarm, the console displayed a complex logic puzzle, a security override challenge. Jack took a deep breath and focused. The puzzle involved rerouting energy flows through a three-dimensional grid while avoiding certain nodes. It was difficult but not impossible. Jack was halfway through the solution when the archive doors slid open. A massive armored figure ducked through the entrance. The being stood nearly 8 feet tall with dark-plated skin and 4 yellow eyes set in a face that reminded Jack of a rhinoceros. "Stop what you're doing immediately," the security officer rumbled. "I'm trying to shut off the alarm," Jack explained. "The system thinks I'm an intruder because of my body temperature." The security officer approached cautiously, looking at the console. "You've nearly completed the override sequence. Most beings would take hours to get that far." Jack shrugged. "It's just a puzzle. Look, I'm Jack Miller, an exchange student from Earth. Can you please tell the system I'm authorized to be here?" The security officer studied Jack for a moment, then pressed a sequence on his wrist guard. The alarm silenced and the barriers lifted. "I am Security Chief Kraz," the rhinoceros-like alien said. "I know who you are, Earth human. Your presence has been noted throughout the Academy." Jack sighed. "Great, more special attention." To Jack's surprise, Kraz made a rumbling sound that might have been laughter. "You solved that override faster than many of my officers could. Where did you learn such skills?" "We have puzzles and games on Earth too," Jack said. "Plus, my dad loves escape rooms. They're like physical puzzle challenges. We used to do them together on weekends." "Interesting." Kraz seemed genuinely curious. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. I've fought against species from Class 10 worlds. They were formidable opponents but lacked creativity." Jack gathered his materials. "We're not all warriors, you know. Most humans never fight. Anything more dangerous than traffic or maybe a spider in the bathroom. Yet you all evolved with the capacity to survive extreme conditions," Kraz observed. "The security system detected your body temperature as a threat because most species maintain much lower thermal regulation. Your metabolic rate alone would be considered a weapon on some worlds." As they walked out of the archives together, Kraz asked surprisingly thoughtful questions about Earth. Not about its dangers, but about how humans had built civilizations despite them. "If I may ask," Jack said finally, "why are you so interested in humans? Everyone else seems afraid or suspicious." Kraz's yellow eyes narrowed slightly. "Because Jack Miller, not all members of the Federation welcome new species with open arms, especially species from death worlds with potential to compete for resources." "What do you mean?" "I suggest you research the Galactic Commerce Guild in your preparation for the symposium. Their representatives will be attending." With that cryptic advice, Kraz left Jack at his dormitory entrance. The next morning, Jack followed Kraz's suggestion. What he discovered disturbed him. The Galactic Commerce Guild was a powerful coalition of corporate interests. They had filed multiple motions to classify Earth as a restricted contact zone, effectively quarantining humanity while allowing exclusive resource extraction rights to guild members. "They can't do that, can they?" Jack asked Lyriel when he showed her his findings in the Academy gardens. Lyriel's scales flickered anxiously. "It has happened before with other worlds. Not often, but enough to be concerning. The Guild claims it's for protection, both for the Federation from potentially dangerous species and for developing worlds from cultural contamination. But everyone knows it's really about resources." "And the symposium?" "Federation officials use academic events to help shape policy," Lyriel confirmed. "If Earth is portrayed as simply another dangerous, primitive world, rather than a uniquely adaptable culture with something to contribute, it could influence classification decisions." Jack leaned back against a tree from a world whose name he couldn't pronounce. "So Varen's challenge isn't just academic." "The Cole dynasty has significant investments in the Guild," Lyriel said quietly. "I doubt it's coincidence that Varen challenged Earth's only representative so publicly." Jack thought about his research over the past week. He had been focusing on biological adaptations, but now he realized he needed a different approach. The symposium wasn't just about how species survived, it was about what made them valuable to the galactic community. "I need to change my presentation strategy," Jack said, "and I need to send more messages home." "What will you ask for?" Lyriel's fins rippled with curiosity. "Not facts and figures," Jack said with growing determination. "I need stories. Real, human stories about overcoming impossible odds, not just through physical strength or biological adaptation, but through cooperation, innovation, and sheer stubborn refusal to give up." Lyriel's scales shifted to a bright, hopeful blue. "Do you have enough time to prepare?" Jack nodded. 2 weeks is plenty. On Earth, we've been preparing for this moment our entire history. We just didn't know it." As they walked back toward the academic halls, Jack noticed Varen Cole watching them from a balcony, his silver face unreadable. The challenge that had seemed like a simple debate now felt like something much more significant. A chance to speak not just for himself, but for the future of human-galactic relations. The day of the Galactic Symposium arrived quickly. The Academy's grand auditorium was filled with students, professors, Federation officials, and corporate representatives from across the galaxy. The room buzzed with conversation in dozens of languages as participants from 16 different academies prepared their presentations. Jack waited nervously backstage, reviewing his notes one final time. The responses from Earth had arrived just in time. Personal accounts, historical records, and video clips that told humanity's story better than any dry scientific explanation could. Nervous, Deathworlder? Varen Cole's smooth voice came from behind Jack. The silver-skinned alien wore formal attire that seemed to shimmer with subtle color shifts. This audience includes 3 Federation Council members and the entire board of the Galactic Commerce Guild. Thanks for the reminder, Jack said, trying to keep his voice steady. Your presentation materials were unexpected, Varen continued. I assumed you would attempt to dazzle us with Earth's biological diversity, or perhaps your species' physical resilience. Instead, you submitted what appear to be personal anecdotes. He made the last word sound almost insulting. Sometimes stories tell more truth than statistics, Jack replied. Varen's elongated features formed what might have been a smile. How charmingly primitive. I do hope you won't embarrass your planet too severely. Before Jack could respond, Lyriel approached. Her scales were shifting through bright, encouraging colors. Don't listen to him, Jack. I've seen your materials, they're powerful. She offered a small object that looked like a smooth stone. This is a calming charm from my world. Hold it when you feel anxious. Jack took the stone gratefully. It was cool to the touch and seemed to vibrate slightly against his palm. Thank you. The symposium began with presentations from other academies. Most were technical explanations of evolutionary advantages, the breathing apparatus of methane-dwelling species, the radiation resistance of beings from binary star systems, the hibernation capabilities of species from worlds with extreme seasonal changes. Each presentation focused on how specific physical adaptations had allowed species to overcome their planetary challenges over millions of years of evolution. The audience responded with polite interest, occasionally asking technical questions. When Jack's turn came, he took a deep breath and stepped onto the floating platform that served as the stage. The audience fell silent, many leaning forward to get a better look at the human from the mysterious Deathworld. Distinguished guests, fellow students, I am Jack Miller of Earth, he began. I could stand here and tell you about our planet's varied ecosystems, from frozen poles to burning deserts. I could explain how humans developed sweat glands to regulate temperature, or how our digestive systems can process a wide variety of foods, but that wouldn't really explain humanity. Jack activated the presentation screen. Instead of charts or diagrams, it showed the face of a young girl with dark hair and determined eyes. This is Lisa, a 12-year-old girl who fell into a deep crevasse while hiking with her family in mountains we call the Alps. With 2 broken legs and temperatures below freezing, survival experts would have given her hours to live. She survived. 3 days by creating a shelter from her backpack, rationing a single candy bar, and collecting snow to melt in her mouth for water, the audience murmured, clearly impressed. But here's what's important. Lisa had never been taught these specific survival skills. She improvised based on stories she had read, science lessons from school, and watching outdoor adventure shows with her brother. Humans don't just adapt biologically, we adapt through knowledge and creativity. Jack moved through more examples. The Thai soccer team trapped in flooded caves for 2 weeks, Antarctic explorers surviving impossible conditions after their ships were crushed by ice, communities rebuilding after devastating hurricanes. Our greatest evolutionary advantage isn't physical, Jack explained. It's our ability to share knowledge across generations, to learn from each experience and to prepare for challenges we've never personally faced. Varen Cole interrupted from his seat. This is merely anecdotal evidence, not scientific data. Emotional stories may appeal to primitive instincts, but they hardly constitute evolutionary theory. Several guild representatives nodded in agreement. Jack smiled. I anticipated this objection. He switched the display to show a series of brain scans. These are comparative neural imaging studies showing how human brains process stories versus raw data. When we hear facts, our language processing centers activate. But when we hear stories, our entire brain lights up. We experience them as if they're happening to us. He displayed more scientific images. This is how humans have survived Earth. Not just by having stronger bodies or specialized organs, but by developing minds that can imagine solutions to problems we've never encountered before. A Federation official raised a hand. But surely, your physical adaptations played a crucial role? Your high body temperature, your endurance, your strength? They helped, Jack acknowledged. But consider this. Humans have lived in Arctic ice, scorching deserts, dense jungles, and open plains, all with essentially the same biology. Most species adapt to specific environments. Humans adapted to adapt. We created tools, clothing, shelter, and societies that allow us to survive virtually anywhere. Jack showed his final series of images. Humans working together to rescue flood victims, scientists collaborating across countries to develop vaccines, international space stations where former enemies worked side by side. Earth is classified as a death world because it's dangerous and unpredictable. But those challenges didn't just make us strong, they made us cooperative. When survival depends on working together, you learn to value diversity, to see different perspectives as advantages rather than threats. The room had fallen completely silent. Even Varen was watching intently. Federation records show that most spacefaring species discovered interstellar travel after periods of peace and prosperity. Humans reached for the stars while still healing from conflicts, while facing climate challenges, while overcoming deep social divisions. We didn't wait for perfect conditions. We saw problems as opportunities to grow. Jack displayed his final image, Earth seen from space, its blue oceans and swirling white clouds looking surprisingly peaceful. Our world shaped us, but we are also reshaping it. Earth is recovering from centuries of environmental damage because humans decided to fix what we broke. We're not just survivors, we're caretakers. And that, distinguished guests, is what humanity hopes to bring to the galactic community. Not just the strength to endure adversity, but the vision to overcome it together. As Jack concluded, the auditorium remained silent for several heartbeats. Then from the back, someone began to applaud. Security Chief Kraz, his massive hands creating thunderous claps. Others joined until the room filled with the varied sounds of appreciation from dozens of different species. From the judges' panel, the Federation officials exchanged meaningful glances. One leaned over to whisper something to a guild representative, who looked distinctly uncomfortable. Varen Cole's face had lost some of its silver luster. As Jack stepped off the platform, their eyes met briefly. In that moment, Jack realized something important. He had come to the academy thinking he needed to prove humans were as good as other species. Now he understood they weren't better, or worse. They were just different with their own unique contributions to make. The judges took longer than expected to deliberate after the final presentation. Jack sat with Lyriel in the academy gardens, trying to calm his nerves. No matter what happens, you changed minds today, Lyriel said, her scales glowing a warm orange. I overheard several Federation officials discussing Earth's classification status during the break. Jack nodded, but couldn't help feeling anxious. The guild representatives didn't look happy. The guild rarely looks happy when they might lose exclusive access to resources, Lyriel replied. That's actually a good sign. Their conversation was interrupted when Jack's datapad chimed with an official academy notification. The results were ready. When they returned to the grand auditorium, Jack was surprised to see even more attendees than before. Word had spread about the humans' unusual presentation, and many who hadn't attended earlier had come to hear the results. Dean Vorex floated at the center of the stage in his tank, the jellyfish-like being's neural clusters pulsing with activity. Beside him stood representatives from the Federation Council and the symposium judges. We have evaluated all submissions based on scientific merit, presentation quality, and insight into evolutionary adaptation, the lead judge announced. While many presentations showed excellent technical understanding, One submission stood out for challenging our fundamental assumptions about adaptation itself. The room grew quiet. Jack held his breath. The first place recognition for this year's Inter-Academy Symposium on Evolutionary Adaptation is awarded to Jack Miller of Earth. A collective gasp swept through the room, followed by enthusiastic sounds of approval from many attendees. Jack sat frozen in shock until Lyriel nudged him. "Go," she whispered. "You won!" Jack walked to the stage in a daze. As he accepted the small crystalline trophy, he saw Varen Cole's face in the crowd. The silver-skinned alien looked stunned, his usual composure completely shattered. "Would you like to say a few words?" the judge asked. Jack nodded and turned to the audience. "Thank you for this honor. I didn't come here expecting to win anything. I just wanted to share what makes humans unique, not because we're better, but because every species brings something valuable to the galactic community. Earth may be classified as a death world, but it taught us lessons worth sharing. I'm grateful for the chance to learn from all of you as well." After the ceremony, several Federation officials approached Jack. Among them was a tall, elegant being with feathered skin, who introduced herself as Ambassador Nalari. "Your presentation was most illuminating, Jack Miller," she said. "The Council will be revisiting Earth's classification protocols based on your insights. We had not fully considered the cultural and psychological adaptations your species has developed." "What does that mean for Earth's membership status?" Jack asked. "It means," said another official, "that the Guild's petition for restricted contact has been denied. Earth will proceed on the standard path toward full Federation membership, with appropriate cultural exchange programs expanded rather than limited." Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. That's great news." "Indeed," Ambassador Nalari agreed. "In fact, the Council is recommending the Academy establish a new department, Deathworld Studies. Your perspective on adaptation through knowledge sharing and cultural transmission has significant implications for Federation science and policy." "A new department? That's a big change just because of one presentation." The ambassador made a gesture like a shrug. "The Federation has existed for thousands of years by recognizing and incorporating new knowledge. Your species' approach to survival offers insights we had not considered. Dean Vorax has already approved the preliminary plans and suggested you might serve as a junior curriculum advisor." As the officials moved away, Jack spotted Varen Cole approaching. The alien's movements were stiff, his silver skin dulled with what might have been embarrassment. "Congratulations," Varen said, the word clearly difficult for him. "Your approach was unexpected." Jack nodded. "Thanks. However," Varen continued, "one successful presentation doesn't prove humanity's value to the Federation. The Cole dynasty will be watching Earth's development with great interest." "I'd expect nothing less," Jack replied. "But maybe watch with an open mind? You might be surprised by what humans can offer as partners, rather than just as a source. Varen didn't respond directly, but gave a formal bow before departing. The next few days passed in a blur of meetings with Academy officials about the new Deathworld Studies Department and interviews with Federation news services about his presentation. Jack barely had time to attend his regular classes, though he noticed his classmates no longer avoided him in the hallways. If anything, many seemed eager to ask questions about Earth. On the final day of the term, before he was scheduled to return to Earth for a break, Jack entered his dormitory to find it filled with students from various species. Lyriel stood in the center, her scales flashing excited patterns. "Surprise," she announced. "We organized a proper Earth celebration for you." The room had been decorated with images of Earth landmarks, and several students were wearing crude approximations of human clothing. A table held foods that resembled Earth dishes, though Jack suspected most would taste nothing like the originals. "What's all this?" Jack asked, genuinely moved. "A cultural exchange," Lyriel explained. "You've shared Earth stories with us. Now we want to share our world's survival stories with you." Throughout the evening, students from 27 different worlds took turns sharing their culture's tales of overcoming adversity. A student from a low-gravity world described how their ancestors learned to build underground to survive meteor storms. Another, from a world of perpetual darkness, explained how they developed sonar and bioluminescence to thrive without light. As Jack listened, he realized something profound had changed. He had arrived at the academy feeling like an outsider, the strange Deathworlder that everyone feared. Now he was a bridge between worlds, helping species understand each other better. When the celebration finally wound down, Dean Vorex made a surprise appearance, his tank hovering in the doorway. "I have something for you, Student Miller," the Dean said, extending a tentacle that held a data crystal. "Admission offers for 10 more human students to join next term. The Federation Council believes increased cultural exchange will benefit all parties." Jack took the crystal with a grin. 10 more humans? The Academy won't know what hit it. "Indeed," the Dean replied, neural clusters pulsing with what Jack had learned was amusement. "Though I suspect we will adapt. After all, your presentation made a compelling case for adaptation through learning and cooperation." As the Dean departed, Jack looked around the room at his alien friends. In just one term, he had changed perceptions about humanity and helped secure Earth's place in the Galactic community. He couldn't wait to see what 10 more humans with 10 more sets of stories from their Deathworld could accomplish. "Earth's perspective is valuable," the Dean added from the doorway. "Perhaps we've been defining hardness incorrectly all along. It's not just about physical resilience, but about the strength to maintain compassion and curiosity even in harsh conditions." Jack smiled, knowing that next semester would bring new challenges and opportunities. Earth's hardest student had done more than just stun his class with stories from a Deathworld. He had helped them see that every world, no matter how harsh or gentle, had valuable lessons to teach.